It was a normal Tuesday morning when everything changed. The sun rose as usual, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. People all over Earth went about their daily lives, unaware that their world was about to be turned upside down. At 9:17 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, every electronic device on the planet buzzed with an emergency alert. Phones, tablets, computers, and even smart fridges lit up with the same message. This is not a drill. Look up. As millions of confused faces turned skyward, they saw it. A massive fleet of spaceships, unlike anything ever seen before, filled the sky. They were sleek, shiny, and terrifying. The ships hovered silently, their presence a clear statement. We are here, and we are not from Earth. In New York, a hot dog vendor named Joe dropped his tongs in shock. In Tokyo, a group of school children pointed and gasped. In a small village in Africa, an elder called for the community to gather. All around the world, the same scene played out. Humanity, as one, stared at the sky in awe and fear. World leaders scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were called, and military forces were put on high alert. The United Nations building in New York became the center of frantic activity as representatives from every nation rushed to convene. Inside the UN, tension filled the air. The Secretary General, a normally calm woman named Dr. Amina Okafor, stood at the podium. Her voice shook slightly as she addressed the assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, we face an unprecedented situation. An alien fleet has entered our solar system and is now in Earth's orbit. We must decide how to respond, and we must do it quickly. As if on cue, every screen in the room flickered to life. The face that appeared was not human. It had gray skin, large black eyes, and no visible mouth. When it spoke, the words seemed to echo directly in their minds. People of Earth, the alien said, its voice oddly melodious. We are the Galactic Empire. We have come to offer you a choice. Join our empire and enjoy the benefits of our advanced civilization, or resist and face conquest. You have 24 hours to decide. The room erupted into chaos. Some representatives shouted in anger, others in fear. A few even fainted. Dr. Okafor raised her hands, calling for order. We must remain calm, she said firmly. Panic will not help us now. As the UN debated, the world outside held its breath. Social media exploded with theories, fears, and even jokes. Some people partied like it was their last day on Earth, while others huddled with their families, praying for safety. In a top-secret military base deep underground, Earth's best scientists and military strategists gathered. General Sarah Chen, a decorated veteran, stood before a group of grim-faced men and women. We always knew this day might come, she said, her voice steady. Now it's here, and we need to be ready. What are our options? Dr. Raj Patel, a brilliant physicist, stepped forward. We've been preparing for this possibility for years, he said. We have technology that the aliens don't know about. It might give us a fighting chance. As the hours ticked by, a plan began to form. It was risky, perhaps even foolish, but it was a plan born of human determination and ingenuity. Back at the UN, Dr. Okafor received word of the plan. She took a deep breath, straightened her jacket, and walked back to the podium. The room fell silent as she began to speak. My fellow citizens of Earth, she said, her voice strong and clear. We have made our decision. We will not bow to threats or intimidation. We are the people of Earth, and we declare that our planet is not open for conquest. As her words were broadcast around the world, a cheer went up. From New York to New Delhi, from London to Lagos, humans stood a little taller, their fear turning to determination. The clock was ticking. In just a few hours, they would deliver their response to the Galactic Empire. The future of Earth hung in the balance, but humanity was ready to fight for its freedom. The greatest challenge in human history had begun. The 24-hour deadline set by the Galactic Empire ticked away like a time bomb. All around the world, people waited with bated breath. Some prayed, some cried, and some stood in defiant silence. In Washington, D.C., the President of the United States, James Harper, paced in the Oval Office. His phone rang. It was the Chinese President, Lai Wei. "President Harper," Lai's voice crackled through the speaker. "We must stand together. This is bigger than our differences." Harper nodded, even though Lai couldn't see him. "Agreed. It's time to call everyone." Within the hour, a video conference connected leaders from every nation on Earth. Some faces were familiar, others not, but all wore the same expression of grim determination. President Harper spoke first. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face the greatest threat in human history. But we also have an opportunity to put aside our differences and stand as one." The Russian president, a stern-faced woman named Ekaterina Volkov, leaned forward. "What do you propose?" "A united front," Harper replied. "One voice, one decision for all of Earth." Murmurs of agreement filled the virtual room. For the first time in history, every nation on Earth agreed on something. They would not surrender. Meanwhile, in a hidden facility deep in the Swiss Alps, Dr. Raj Patel and his team of scientists worked frantically. They had been preparing for this day for years, developing technology in secret that might give humanity a fighting chance. Dr. Patel looked at his main screen, his eyes wide with excitement. "It's working," he whispered. Then louder, "It's working." His team gathered around, faces lit by the glow of the screen. What they saw gave them hope. A new kind of shield, one that could potentially protect Earth from the Empire's weapons. Back in New York, the UN building buzzed with activity. Dr. Amina Okafor, the Secretary General, stood before the General Assembly. Representatives from every nation filled the seats, their faces a mix of fear and resolve. "We have made our decision," Dr. Okafor announced, her voice strong. "We will not join the Galactic Empire. We choose freedom. We choose Earth." A cheer went up from the assembly, echoing through the halls of the UN. It was a sound of unity, of humans standing together against an alien threat. As the cheer died down, Dr. Okafor continued, "But we must be prepared. The Empire will not take our refusal lightly. We must be ready to defend our home." In orbit, aboard the Imperial flagship, the alien commander received Earth's message. Its large black eyes blinked slowly as it processed the humans' defiance. "Foolish creatures," it thought. "They do not understand the power they face." The commander turned to its subordinate. "Prepare the fleet. If they will not join willingly, we will make them." Back on Earth, as news of the decision spread, something remarkable happened. Old enemies shook hands. Borders that had been closed for decades opened. Resources were shared, and a global defense plan began to take shape. In London's Trafalgar Square, a young woman named Zara Hassan stood on the steps of the National Gallery. She held a sign that read, "Earth United, Earth Free." Around her, thousands gathered, holding similar signs in different languages. Zara's voice rang out, clear and strong. "We are not alone anymore," she shouted. "But we are not afraid. We are humanity. And this is our home." The crowd roared in response. Similar scenes played out in cities across the globe. From Tokyo to Rio de Janeiro, from Cape Town to Moscow, humans came together in a show of unity never before seen. In orbit, the Imperial ships began to move. They spread out, forming a ring around the planet. Their weapons powered up, a silent threat hanging over the Earth. But humanity was not idle. In secret bases around the world, pilots climbed into advanced fighters, the product of years of hidden development. Scientists activated defensive systems that the world had never known existed. As the Imperial ships descended, humanity held its breath. The first battle for Earth was about to begin. But they were ready. United and defiant, the people of Earth prepared to fight for their home, their freedom, and their future. The stage was set. Humanity versus the Galactic Empire. David versus Goliath on a cosmic scale. and Earth had no intention of backing down. The sky over Mars glowed an eerie red as the Galactic Empire's ships approached. Earth's secret fleet, hidden on the far side of the red planet, waited in tense silence. This would be humanity's first real test against the alien invaders. Commander Elena Rodriguez sat in the cockpit of her advanced fighter, call sign Phantom 1. Her hands gripped the controls tightly as she addressed her squadron. "Remember your training," she said, her voice steady. "We may be outnumbered, but we have the element of surprise. Earth is counting on us." Suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet. The Empire had detected them. It was now or never. "Phantoms, launch," Rodriguez ordered. In an instant, hundreds of Earth's fighters burst from their hiding spots. They streaked across the Martian sky, their secret engines glowing with an otherworldly blue light. The Imperial ships, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. Their massive cannons began to charge, aiming at the approaching Earth fleet. But Earth had one more surprise. As the Imperial weapons fired, a shimmering shield appeared around the human ships. The alien blasts dissipated harmlessly against it. On the bridge of the Imperial flagship, the alien commander's eyes widened in shock. Impossible, it thought. These primitives shouldn't have this technology. Back on Earth, in the underground command center, General Sarah Chen watched the battle unfold on massive screens. She turned to Dr. Raj Patel, who stood nervously beside her. "Your shield works, Doctor," she said with a grim smile. "Now let's see what our weapons can do." In space, Commander Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comms. "All units, engage. Show them what Earth can do." The human fighters swarmed around the much larger Imperial ships. They were smaller and faster, darting in and out like angry wasps. Their weapons, powered by technology reverse-engineered from a crashed alien ship years ago, cut through the Imperial defenses. One by one, Imperial ships began to fall. They exploded in brilliant flashes of light, illuminating the red Martian landscape below. But the Empire was far from defeated. Their ships regrouped, forming a tight defensive formation. They launched their own fighters, sleek and deadly. The space around Mars became a chaotic dance of light and explosions. Human and alien ships weaved between each other, exchanging fire in a deadly ballet. Commander Rodriguez barrel-rolled her fighter, avoiding a barrage of enemy fire. She locked onto an Imperial fighter and fired. Her shot hit home, and the alien ship exploded into a ball of flame. "That's for Earth," she muttered, already moving to her next target. The battle raged for hours. Both sides took heavy losses, but slowly, surely, the humans began to gain the upper hand. Their surprise attack and unknown technology had given them a crucial advantage. Finally, the Imperial commander made a decision. It raised its hand, and a signal was sent to the remaining ships. In unison, they turned and retreated, jumping to light speed and disappearing from the Martian sky. A cheer went up across the human fleet. They had done it. They had won the first battle against the Galactic Empire. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. People poured into the streets, celebrating this first, crucial victory. In Times Square, a giant screen showed grainy footage of the battle. The crowd roared as they watched Earth's ships triumph. In the UN building, Dr. Amina Okafor addressed the General Assembly once again. Her face was tired but triumphant. "Today, we have shown the galaxy that Earth is not to be underestimated," she said. "But this is only the beginning. The Empire will return, and we must be ready." As the delegates applauded, Dr. Okafor's words rang true. In the depths of space, the retreating Imperial fleet regrouped. The alien commander's eyes narrowed as it gazed at the blue-green planet on its U-screen. "Prepare for full-scale invasion," it ordered. "We will crush these humans and take their world." The first clash was over, but the war for Earth had only just begun. Humanity had won a battle, but the greatest challenges still lay ahead. The entire planet held its breath, waiting for the Empire's next move. In this moment of victory, one thing was clear: Earth would never be the same again. The celebration of Earth's victory was short-lived. Just 3 days after the Battle of Mars, the sky darkened once again. This time, the Galactic Empire returned with a vengeance. Thousands of ships, far more than before, filled Earth's orbit. Their massive forms blocked out the sun, casting long shadows over the planet below. The message was clear. The Empire was done playing games. In the White House Situation Room, President James Harper stared at the screens in disbelief. "My God," he whispered. "There's so many of them." General Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the speakers. "Mr. President, our sensors are picking up movement. They're launching dropships. This is a full-scale invasion." Around the world, sirens blared. Emergency broadcasts interrupted all communications. "This is not a drill. Seek shelter immediately. The alien invasion has begun." In New York, the Statue of Liberty stood silent witness as imperial ships descended on the city. In Moscow, Red Square became a battleground as the first alien troops touched down. In Rio de Janeiro, the Christ the Redeemer statue was engulfed in smoke as battles raged around it. Earth's defenses sprang into action. The shield technology that had worked so well at Mars was now deployed globally. A shimmering dome appeared over major cities, deflecting the initial barrage of alien fire. But the Empire had learned. Their weapons changed, adapting to the human shields. Slowly but surely, they began to break through. In London, Big Ben chimed what many feared might be its last hour as Imperial troops marched down the Thames. But they hadn't counted on the spirit of the British people. Led by a grizzled old veteran named Tom, civilians armed themselves with whatever they could find. "We survived the Blitz," Tom shouted, rallying his neighbors. "We'll survive this too." They fought back with a fierce determination, turning the streets of London into a maze of traps and ambushes for the invaders. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Kenya, Maasai warriors stood alongside modern soldiers, their spears proving surprisingly effective against alien armor. In Japan, ancient samurai tactics found new life in the defense of Tokyo. Commander Elena Rodriguez, fresh from her victory at Mars, now led Earth's air defense. Her squadron darted between skyscrapers, engaging alien ships in daring dogfights. "Keep them off balance," she ordered. "Don't let them establish a foothold." But for every alien ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Earth's forces were being pushed to their limits. In the secret facility in the Swiss Alps, Dr. Raj Patel worked frantically. "We need more time," he muttered, his fingers flying over his keyboard. "Just a little more time." The alien commander, watching from its flagship, allowed itself a moment of satisfaction. "These humans are persistent," it thought, "but they cannot stand against the might of the Empire." As the battles rage, acts of incredible heroism emerge. In Sydney, a young lifeguard named Jack used his jet ski to rescue trapped civilians from the Opera House, dodging alien fire as he sped across the harbor. In Cairo, Dr. Fatima Salib, an archaeologist, used her knowledge of the ancient tunnels beneath the city to help resistance fighters outmaneuver the invaders. And in a small town in the American Midwest, a group of farmers used their crop dusters to spread a hastily developed chemical that gummed up the aliens' breathing apparatus, forcing them to retreat. But despite these heroic efforts, the situation looked grim. City after city fell under Imperial control. Earth's defenses were crumbling. In the UN building, now serving as Earth's main command center, Dr. Amina Okafor received report after report of losses and retreats. Her face was etched with worry, but her voice remained steady as she addressed the emergency session. "We are facing our darkest hour," she said, "but we must not lose hope. Every minute we resist is a minute we deny the Empire. And every minute counts." As she spoke, a message came in from Dr. Patel in the Alps. His face appeared on the main screen, excitement breaking through his exhaustion. "We found something," he said, "a weakness in their technology. But we need to get closer to one of their main ships to confirm it." Dr. Okafor looked around the room, meeting the eyes of Earth's leaders. "Then that's what we'll do," she said firmly. "It's time for a counterstrike." As the Empire thought victory was within its grasp, humanity prepared for its most daring move yet. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and the next few hours would decide everything. The world held its breath as Dr. Raj Patel's team in the Swiss Alps worked tirelessly. Their discovery of a potential weakness in the Imperial technology could change everything. But to confirm it, they needed to get close to one of the main alien ships. In a hidden underground hangar, a small team prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Commander Elena Rodriguez checked her experimental stealth suit one last time. Beside her, Dr. Patel fumbled with his equipment, looking nervous but determined. "Remember," Elena said to her team, "we only get one shot at this. Let's make it count." Their ship, a hybrid of human and reverse-engineered alien tech, lifted off silently. Its cloaking device, untested in real combat, was their only protection as they ascended towards the massive Imperial flagship looming over New York City. As they flew, battles raged across the globe. In Paris, the Eiffel Tower stood as a silent sentinel, while French resistance fighters used the catacombs to outmaneuver alien patrols. In Beijing, ancient martial arts found new purpose as citizens fought invaders in the streets. But it was in the skies above New York where humanity's fate would be decided. Elena's ship weaved through debris and laser fire, invisible to both friend and foe. Dr. Patel's instruments beeped softly as they approached the Imperial flagship. "We're in range," he whispered, his eyes wide with excitement and fear. "Starting the scan now." Suddenly, alarms blared. Their cloaking device flickered. "We've been detected," Elena shouted. Evasive maneuvers. She piloted the ship in a wild dance, dodging enemy fire. But Dr. Patel needed more time. "Just a few more seconds," he pleaded, his fingers flying over his console. A blast rocked their ship. Systems failed. They were hit. "Brace for impact." Elena yelled as their crippled vessel plummeted towards the streets of New York. But even as they fell, Dr. Patel's computer chimed. He looked at the screen, and a wide grin spread across his face. "We did it," he said. "We got the data." Their ship crashed into Central Park, skidding to a halt near the Bethesda Fountain. As alien troops closed in, Elena and her team fought desperately to protect Dr. Patel and his precious data. Just when all seemed lost, a group of New Yorkers, led by a hot dog vendor named Joe, charged into the fray. Armed with improvised weapons, they bought Elena and Dr. Patel the time they needed to escape into the city's subway system. Meanwhile, in the UN Command Center, Dr. Amina Okafor received the transmitted data. She turned to her team of scientists, hope shining in her eyes for the first time in days. "Analyze this immediately," she ordered. "This could be our chance to turn the tide." Hours passed as the world's best minds pored over the information. Finally, a young scientist named Jean-Louis jumped up, shouting with excitement. "We've got it," he cried. "Their ship's main power systems operate on a frequency we can disrupt." Dr. Okafor wasted no time. She called an emergency meeting of Earth's leaders. "We have a plan," she announced, her voice firm. "But it will require a coordinated global effort unlike anything in human history." The plan was daring, perhaps even crazy. They would use Earth's power grids and communication networks to create a massive planet-wide electromagnetic pulse, tuned to the exact frequency of the Imperial ship's power systems. As preparations began, word spread among the resistance fighters and civilians still battling the alien invaders. A spark of hope ignited in the hearts of humans everywhere. In London, old Tom rallied his neighbors once more. "Hold the line," he shouted. "Help is coming." In Rio, guerrilla fighters redoubled their efforts, emerging from the favelas to harass the alien patrols. And in New York, Elena and Dr. Patel fought their way to the top of the Empire State Building. There, they would set up the final, crucial piece of equipment needed for the plan. As the sun set on this pivotal day, Humanity stood united as never before. In every corner of the globe, people prepared for one final desperate gambit. Dr. Okafor's voice echoed across the world's communication channels. People of Earth, stand ready. In 1 hour, we take back our planet. The stage was set. In 60 minutes, the fate of Earth would be decided. The Galactic Empire was about to learn that humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would fight, and if Dr. Patel's discovery proved correct, they would win. The countdown to Earth's finest hour had begun. As Earth prepared for its most daring move yet, the news of its resistance spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On countless worlds under the Empire's control, whispers of hope began to circulate. On the desert planet Sarthak, a group of rebels gathered in a dark cave. Their leader, a tall, blue-skinned alien named Krell, spoke in hushed tones. "Have you heard?" Krell said, eyes shining. "A small backwater planet called Earth is fighting the Empire, and winning." Similar scenes played out on planets throughout the galaxy. Species that had long ago given up hope of freedom began to stir. The Empire, once thought invincible, suddenly seemed vulnerable. Back on Earth, the countdown to the global counterattack ticked away. In New York, Commander Elena Rodriguez and Dr. Raj Patel worked frantically atop the Empire State Building, setting up the final piece of equipment for Earth's grand plan. "Are you sure this will work?" Elena asked, glancing nervously at the alien ships hovering above the city. Dr. Patel wiped sweat from his brow. "It has to," he replied. "We're out of options." Around the world, power plants ramped up to maximum output. Communication towers were repurposed, ready to broadcast the planet-wide electromagnetic pulse that was humanity's last hope. In the UN Command Center, Dr. Amina Okafor watched the clock tick down. 10 minutes, she announced, her voice carried to every corner of the globe. The alien commander, sensing something was amiss, ordered an all-out assault. Imperial ships descended, their weapons charging. But humanity was ready. In London, Old Tom led a group of civilians in protecting a key power station. In Rio, guerrilla fighters created a distraction, drawing alien forces away from crucial communication towers. As the clock hit 5 minutes, something unexpected happened. The Empire's communication channels were suddenly flooded with reports from across the galaxy. Rebellions were breaking out on dozens of worlds. The alien commander's eyes widened in shock. Impossible, it thought. How could this be happening? On the planet Chrono, crystalline beings shattered their imperial restraints. On watery Aqualis, the mer people rose from the depths to overthrow their oppressors. And on the fiery world of Ignos, dragon-like creatures took to the skies, burning imperial bases to ash. The news reached Earth, spreading rapidly through resistance networks. Humanity realized they were no longer alone in their fight. They were the spark that had ignited a galactic revolution. With 1 minute left, Dr. Okafor's voice rang out one last time. "People of Earth and freedom fighters across the stars, this is our moment. Stand together, fight together, win together." The clock hit 0. Atop the Empire State Building, Dr. Patel pressed the button. Elena held her breath. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a wave of energy pulsed out from every power station, every communication tower, every makeshift transmitter across the planet. The sky lit up with a brilliant, silent flash. Imperial ships began to falter. Their lights flickered, their engines sputtered. One by one, they began to fall from the sky. In New York, Elena watched in awe as the massive flagship that had loomed over the city for days suddenly dropped like a stone, crashing into the Hudson River. Similar scenes played out around the world. In Paris, the alien ship that had perched atop the Eiffel Tower slid off, tumbling to the ground. In Tokyo, imperial vessels fell like rain among the skyscrapers. As the pulse faded, a stunned silence fell over the earth. Then, slowly, cheers began to rise. From the streets of London, the favelas of Rio, the deserts of Egypt, and the mountains of Nepal, The sound of victory echoed. Humanity had done it. They had defeated the Galactic Empire. But even as they celebrated, they knew this was only the beginning. Earth was now part of a larger galactic community. The fight for freedom had only just begun. In the UN Command Center, Dr. Okafor received a transmission. It was from Krell, the rebel leader from Zarthak. People of Earth, Krell's message said, "You have given us all hope. The galaxy looks to you now. Will you lead us to freedom?" Dr. Okafor looked around at the tired but triumphant faces of Earth's leaders. She took a deep breath and replied, "We will stand with you. The fight for freedom knows no borders, not even the stars." As news of Earth's victory spread, the balance of power in the galaxy began to shift. The age of the Empire was ending. A new era of liberty was dawning, and Earth was at its center. The next chapter of humanity's cosmic adventure was about to begin. 1 year had passed since Earth's victory over the Galactic Empire. The planet was a changed place, buzzing with activity and new possibilities. Alien technology, once a threat, was now being studied and adapted for peaceful purposes. In New York, the United Nations building had been rebuilt and expanded. It now served as the headquarters for the newly formed Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds. Representatives from dozens of alien species filled its halls, working together to build a better future for all. Dr. Amina Okafor, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the galaxy, stood at the podium. She looked out at the diverse crowd before her, humans sitting alongside beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors. "Friends, allies, fellow seekers of freedom," she began, her voice strong and clear. "1 year ago, we faced our greatest challenge. Today, we celebrate not just our survival, but the dawn of a new era of cooperation and peace." As she spoke, screens around the room showed images from across the galaxy. On Zarthak, Krell and his people were rebuilding their world, freed from Imperial control. On Aqualis, humans worked alongside the merpeople, learning the secrets of ocean farming to help feed hungry worlds. But the path to peace hadn't been easy. In orbit above Earth, a massive space station was under construction. It would serve as both a defense platform and a beacon of hope, a clear message that Earth was here to stay as a galactic power. Commander Elena Rodriguez, now Admiral of Earth's growing space fleet, oversaw the station's construction. She smiled as she watched ships from a dozen alien worlds work alongside human vessels, all contributing to the project. Who would have thought, she mused to Dr. Raj Patel, who stood beside her, that our little planet would become the center of a galactic revolution. Dr. Patel chuckled, his eyes twinkling behind new alien tech glasses. "The universe is full of surprises, my friend. Speaking of which, wait until you see what we've done with the captured Imperial flagship." Down on Earth, in what was once Central Park, now stood the Galactic Embassy. Here, the hot dog vendor Joe, hailed as a hero of the Resistance, had opened a new stand. He served Earth foods alongside alien delicacies, his cart becoming a favorite spot for interspecies cultural exchange. "Try the hot dog with Zarthakian spices," he called out to a group of wide-eyed alien tourists. "It's out of this world." But even as Earth celebrated, challenges remained. Not all of the Empire had been defeated. Pockets of resistance still fought on distant worlds, refusing to accept the new order. In London, Old Tom, now a respected advisor on alien affairs, met with a group of young recruits. They were preparing to join peacekeeping missions on worlds still struggling with Imperial loyalists. "Remember," Tom said, his voice gruff but kind, "we fight not for conquest, but for freedom. For everyone, everywhere." As night fell, people around the world gathered to watch a special event. The captured Imperial flagship, once a symbol of oppression, had been repurposed. With Dr. Patel's modifications, it was ready for its maiden voyage as the first Earth-built vessel capable of intergalactic travel. In homes, in public squares, and on ships across the galaxy, billions watched as the massive ship rose from its dock. Its new name, painted proudly on its side, glowed in the twilight. ESS Unity. Dr. Okafor's voice echoed across the airwaves. Today, we take our first step into the wider galaxy, not as conquerors, but as explorers and peacekeepers. The ESS Unity carries with it the hopes and dreams of not just humanity, but of all free people across the stars. As the Unity accelerated, preparing for its first jump to light speed, cheers erupted around the world and across the galaxy. Fireworks lit up the skies of 1,000 worlds, a cosmic celebration of freedom and unity. In the Yulin building, now quiet after the day's events, Dr. Okafor stood by the window, looking up at the stars. A small smile played on her lips as she thought about how far they had come, and the incredible journey that still lay ahead. Earth had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. Once a small, isolated world, it now stood as a beacon of hope for an entire galaxy. The future was uncertain, filled with both promises and perils, but one thing was clear: humanity was ready to face whatever the universe had in store. As the Unity disappeared into the depths of space, carrying with it the spirit of Earth and the dreams of countless beings, a new chapter in the story of the galaxy had begun. And Earth, against all odds, was leading the way.